Coming up, there's a new shark in town. We fly the Speedy Mako. The Senate goes after drones, using aviation to reach disadvantaged teens, and a visit to the birthplace of smoke jumping and aerial firefighting. AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
Celebrate 20 years with Sonex Aircraft by building and flying your dream. Quick handling, fun, and capable kit aircraft models to suit your flying passions. Get the best performance per dollar with Sonex Aircraft.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Melissa Rudinger.
Inexpensive ADS-B out is just a wingtip away. Welcome to AOPA Live This Week. I'm Tom Haynes. Melissa Rudinger is on assignment in Florida, representing General Aviation's interests on the FAA's Commercial Space Airspace Access Aviation Rulemaking Committee, and that's a mouthful. They're making recommendations on how to integrate commercial space operations into the routine operations of the U.S. Air Traffic Control System. But hey, from the looks of her Facebook feed, it looks like she might be having a little bit of fun too while she's there at the Cape. We'll look forward to hearing more about that next week. But hey, back to ADS-B. If you don't know this by now, hey, you must have been watching us with the volume turned down. You have to have ADS-B out installed on your aircraft by January 1st, 2020, if you want to continue flying in airspace that now requires a transponder. Today, about 23% of the fixed-wing aircraft have ADS-B out, so many of you are still sitting on the fence about equipping, but there's something about to pop that will make ADS-B equipage even less painful. And our resident ADS-B expert, Mike Collins, is here. So, Mike, how close are we to this new solution?
The solution that a lot of people have been watching, the company that's planning to offer that hopes to have it certified and ready for installation at EAA AirVenture in July. They say if they don't make it, their head of certification is going to be sitting in a dunk tank. So I think they're pretty serious.
Okay, so he's got a lot of motivation there.
I think there's the stakes are high.
Yeah, really. So what is the product?
This would be the UAvionics Sky Beacon. It's a very innovative UAT, so 978 megahertz
right.
ADS-B out that goes on your left position light along with an LED position light and a strobe, LED strobe. So it's a very turnkey solution. It includes the UAT, it includes the position source for ADS-B, all in one easy to install package.
Wow, okay, so then the big question in this small case, how much?
The introductory pricing is $1,850.
Okay.
Which is the lowest priced ADS-B out solution just about.
Right.
When you factor in installation, it's going to be a pretty compelling
yeah, so talk about the installation. I mean, how long are we talking about?
Well, so it's the company that makes it, UAvionics, has designed it to go in place of a standard wingtip light.
Right.
So 3 screws, a couple of wires. They're saying a 15-minute installation. It could actually be the first case where the installer spends more time on the paperwork than physically installing the ADS-B.
Wow, that is something. But this is ADS-B out, right? So what if I want to take advantage of ADS-B in and get weather and traffic information in the cockpit?
So if you want to take advantage of ADS-B in, you're right, this is ADS-B out only. The company says it will comply with the 2020 mandate.
Right.
For ADS-B in, you can use any of the portable receivers in the cockpit. They also are planning to introduce a companion right side product that would be an ADS-B in receiver with the green nav light and strobes, so you'll have matching wingtips again.
Right. Wow. So you get new strobes, new position lights, at least on the wings, and your ADS-B out solution and potentially ADS-B in solution all in this one's pretty neat package.
Exactly.
That's amazing. So it is, and this all came from the experimental world, right?
Well, so UAvionics has been offering this for the experimental market. The company has actually been around for several years doing avionics for unmanned aerial systems.
Right.
So I think that's where they've gotten their expertise in making things very small and lightweight.
Right. And so this comes about in part as part of the Part 23 rewrite that allows us to bring some equipment from the experimental world into our certified airplanes.
Actually, I think that the company was looking at going down that path to certification, but they decided earlier this year to go for a full TSO. So they have opted for the TSO solution, and they're planning to submit the final paperwork to the FAA at the end of this month, and they've been working very closely with the FAA. They expect a quick turnaround. Okay.
Well, thanks, Mike. We'll look forward to learning more at AirVenture to find out whether or not their chief engineer gets wet.
We'll keep everyone posted, Tom.
All right. And Avionics also makes a range of ADS products for unmanned aerial systems, as Mike said, and most of us call those things drones, and they may have a huge market if the FAA has its way.
Unfortunately, right now, we don't have the authority to require things like remote identification and basic airspace rules across the totality of all UAS operators.
At a hearing this week in the Senate, the FAA argued that it needs a law so that it can require that all drones have equipment that would permit officials to identify the aircraft and the operator.
Remote identification will be very key to them. In our aviation rulemaking committee, we brought in state and local law enforcement, and they said we need to be able to find the guy who's operating that drone, because in many of these situations, it's impeding emergency response, police activity, or response to an incident on the highway or something of that nature, where time is of the essence to get critical help into that area.
The Senate Homeland Security Committee is considering the law that would also allow federal authorities to disable or shoot down a drone that might be a threat to the public or sensitive facilities. And security officials say they really need to be able to do that.
This threat is significant and it's imminent. It's upon us. Terrorist organizations, foreign intelligence organizations, transnational criminal organizations, criminal actors can use this technology and are using this technology on the homeland and abroad. This legislation is a very strong first step to get the ball rolling on the policies, procedures, technical capabilities, and legal authorities to allow law enforcement officers in the United States to take the actions needed to make the homeland safe.
The committee members hope to push the law through the Senate quickly. And others are hoping for quick action on the Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Appropriations Bill. That includes money for the FAA for fiscal year 2019. As we record this, the full Appropriations Committee is debating and amending the final bill. Right now, it budgets nearly $18 billion for the FAA. What we don't know yet is if it will include something that AOPA has lobbied for, money to help the general aviation airports and businesses closed by presidential TFRs. Stay tuned on that one. And general aviation is incredibly safe, thanks in part to certification standards and extensive flight testing before anything is offered to the public. Flight tests find the flaws. Sadly, 2 flight tests this week did not end well. In Hungary, a Magnus aircraft E-Fusion electric airplane crashed, killing 2 on board. They don't know why that happened yet. Siemens, which builds the electric motor, has grounded the aircraft until they learn the cause of the accident. And Gips Aero GA-10 Airvan crashed during certification spin testing. The 2 pilots on board got out and parachuted safely to the ground before the aircraft hit the ground near Mojave, California. The 10-seat turboprop is a stretched version of the piston-powered GA-8. Lancair, known for making speedy kit airplanes, is working to compete for a piece of the certified market. They recently came out with the new Lancair Mako to give a more affordable alternative to airplanes like the Cirrus SR-22, for example. AOPA Editor-at-Large Dave Hirschman recently flew the new Mako.
The Mako is the fastest shark in the ocean, and Lancair adopted the name to emphasize its new airplane's speed and range. The 4-seat Mako uses some new tricks to get that speed, like a retractable nose wheel that goes up and down on its own with no input from the pilot whatsoever. Lancair is so confident in its automation that there's not even a landing gear handle in the cockpit. Mark and Conrad Huffstutler, a father-son team, bought Lancair and moved it to their hometown of Uvalde, Texas last year.
The Mako is built to compete with the Cirrus market. We can outperform a Cirrus in speed, range, useful load, just about every aspect. They're generally coming in about half price of what you'd find a brand new production Cirrus. With the new instrument panels, with the Garmin G3X touch systems, integrating a lot of new advancements into the aircraft to to make it an airplane that can outperform most other certified aircraft on the market.
Now they're setting up a factory builder assist program designed to transform kits into flying airplanes in weeks or months, not years.
We have a builder's assistance center here at Lancair. You can walk your airplane through from delivery of a kit to issuance of the airworthiness certificate, all here on the campus. We understand that time is precious for people, and if they're going to commit to the build of an airplane, they need to be able to get in here, get it done efficiently, have fun while they're doing it, spend time in a nice place. So we're very attuned to that.
The engine we've tried to make as user-friendly as possible, yet still customizable to the individual pilot. This engine incorporates a dual electronic ignition and electronic fuel injection. With the electronic fuel injection, we can do things like a push start button to start the engine. There's no more priming, there's no hot starts, there's no vapor locking. All of that is a thing of the past. The other innovation we put onto the Mako was the retractable nose gear. So by retracting that nose gear, we actually get about 12 knot gain. It's been working really well. I've been flying this airplane. We've got about 100 hours on the airplane. Not once have I had to manually deploy or control the gear in any way. The Mako wing is a lot larger wing. It's a very docile wing. When it comes to stalling, it's very benign stall characteristics. The cruising speed, I generally see just under 190, about 188 knots, doing about 16 gallons an hour. You can bring it back to about 11 gallons an hour if you're up around 14,000 feet, and you get about 184 knots at that. But that's your best economy, and that's where you get about 1,400 miles of range.
Lancair says its Mako will outperform any factory-built piston single, and it'll do that with a fixed nose gear or one that retracts and extends all on its own. Dave Hirschman, AOPA Live.
You can read more about the Mako in the June issue of AOPA Pilot Magazine. Coming up after the break, the home of it all and just your average twilight flight. You're watching AOPA Live this week.
You always knew it was your perfect airplane. Now it can have the perfect panel. Garmin G500 TXI and Garmin G600 TXI, the next generation of flight displays.
If you like to use your airplane to go places, and hey, who doesn't, we have something to expand your horizons. It's called AOPA Travel Pilot, a free newsletter prepared by us on the AOPA media team and delivered to your email inbox every 2 weeks. The latest issue is just out, and this edition features some great places to fly in the Southwest. That includes some of the incredible backcountry in southeastern Utah. You can see the newsletter and sign up to receive future editions by clicking on News and Video, Publications, and then Newsletters. Our goal is to inspire you to fly some places you may not otherwise know about. Hope you enjoy it.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Oh, wow. So much.
Doesn't get much better than that. That is the sound of a high school student finding out they won a $5,000 flight training scholarship. AOPA's Director of the High School Curriculum Initiative, Cindy Hasselbring, and High School Initiative Coordinator Lindsay Hurley called the students earlier this week to give them the exciting news.
So if you were awarded this scholarship, what would it mean to you and your family?
It would be great for me. It would be a huge step forward in getting my private license and, going forward and with flying and stuff like that for me.
Is your mom still there?
Yes, I'm listening.
So what would this mean to you if your son was awarded a scholarship?
Well, more than I can say. More than I can say because for some people, $5,000 is nothing. Mm-hmm. For us, it's huge.
Excellent. Well, you know what? Congratulations, you are one of our winners for the $5,000 scholarship.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
It is our pleasure.
God bless you.
There are 22 winners in all. The scholarships are made possible through generous donations to the AOPA Foundation. The High School Project is one of the initiatives of AOPA's You Can Fly program. One of the major accomplishments for You Can Fly is the development of a new high school STEM curriculum. AOPA Live's Josh Cochran has the story about how a high school uses the curriculum in changing lives.
Airshow performer Sean D. Tucker travels around the world wowing crowds with his high-energy aerobatic routine. But he calls the humble agricultural city of Salinas, California, his home.
I love this community. I was a crop duster in this community. The people in this community are hard working and they do back-breaking labor. We have, equal to Chicago on a kid-on-kid shooting, the same ratios. And it's all about gangs. And I wanted to figure out a way to enable these kids not have to do that.
Sean is helping high schoolers in Salinas through the Bob Hoover Academy, named after the pilot many regard as the best stick and rudder man who ever lived.
I went down to visit him one time, and I looked at him, I said, "Your legacy is important, Bob." And he goes, "Why?" I says, "Because you're iron will. You made yourself one of the best stick and rudder men in the world. You refused to ever give up. You were always reverent to every human being." Those core values are important. Those core values are important to my kids here in Salinas. And I want to continue that legacy.
The students learn the core values that Bob demonstrated through the analogy of flight.
Well, I believe this is true. If you can solo an airplane, you can do. And if you can do, then you can do life.
Flight gives the students a new perspective on life and allows them to dream again.
It's not just an opportunity to be introduced to aviation and to learn to fly an airplane, which is exciting on its own, but I think that it just opens a window into their hearts that have had to be closed off for a while, and a window in their mind that's been closed off into dreaming and thinking that something else is possible for them.
Hey, here we go. It helped me to realize that, those dreams are totally achievable. Because I don't think anybody would have ever thought that I would be in a plane, learning how to fly one. I don't think anyone would be, least of all me.
The change in perspective for the students doesn't happen overnight. It takes close relationships focusing on one student at a time.
Big believer in building relationships with these students, and that is creating positive role models, and a lot of them don't have that. So we really thrive on building relationships because we know that's the crux of everything.
In the classroom, students work on all their core subjects together and learn about aviation using AOPA's high school curriculum.
It's really helped me jump into this flight game and have the support without me going to reinvent the wheel. So it's been a godsend.
Students like Martin Mendez would say the mentorship, along with the inspiration from flight, has led to a changed life.
It really did change my life. And after I took my first flight lesson, even though I didn't really enjoy it the first time, I knew that I really wanted to do it. Deep down inside, I knew I wanted to do this and just continue in my education with airplanes.
Now Martin has soloed and he's working on his private certificate and A&P.
I just got hooked. That's really all I want to do, is be with airplanes.
And now that these students have realized their dreams, they want to go back and help others experience life in a new way, just like they do.
I want to probably spread the word that focus, believe in yourself. You could actually do something with yourself.
Because I've been locked up in juvenile halls, and I want to go back, especially to the hall that I was locked up in, or the halls that I was locked up in, and I want to talk to them. I want to go actually having achieved things, so I can go back, just to show other people that it's possible to still have a good life even if you weren't born into one.
It makes me so proud to see how these kids have grown, how once they get hope, they'll get out of bed in the morning. Once they get self-esteem, they start inspiring, they become inspired, and they look at themselves in the mirror differently, and they have self-respect.
Josh Cochran, AOPA Live.
Way to go, Sean D. Tucker and all the staff at the Bob Hoover Academy. Nice way to honor the great Bob Hoover. Well, it's now just 1 week away. The AOPA fly into Missoula, Montana. Some call it the birthplace of mountain flying, and it definitely is the birthplace of some innovations in firefighting from the air. Warren Morningstar has more on some of that history that you can discover right on Missoula International Airport.
So the DC-3 behind me, it's a converted C-47, is the most historic airplane in Montana.
In 1949, this converted C-47 dropped 15 smoke jumpers into a gulch above the Missouri River in Montana. The wildfire blew up. 12 smoke jumpers and another firefighter died. The Man Gulch fire is remembered today among the people who fight forest fires. It changed their training and their equipment. But the Museum of Mountain Flying on the Missoula Airport is more than a tribute to this one tragedy.
We started this museum actually 25 years ago to keep the history of Johnson Flying Service alive, which was a premier flying service in the Northern Rockies from 1927 or 29 clear up to 1971. They pioneered smoke jumping here, aerial firebombing.
Johnson first tested the idea of a smoke jumper with a Stinson Reliant like this one, but then moved to something bigger.
The main thing they were flying was 4 tri-motors, but they also had our DC-3, C-47/DC-3, and they had they've had every airplane conceivable.
Including surplus Navy TBMs that they converted to firebombers. And there's more to see around the airport. Johnson Flying Service also flew Neptune P-2s well into the 60s. This is a Neptune P-2V, which flew for Neptune Aviation, which currently operates firefighting aircraft out of Missoula. And the largest smoke jumper base is on the airport. There's a visitor center there, and you'll also be able to tour the entire base, including the dormitories and the parachute packing areas.
So I think the people that come here, I think the ones from out of town are going to be absolutely amazed here in little old Missoula, what we got here.
In Missoula, Montana, Warren Morningstar, AOPA Live.
The Missoula Fly-In is next Friday and Saturday. Let us know if you can make it. If you're flying in, be sure to check the special flight procedures on our website. And if you're a pilot, we hope you'll consider volunteering to help. We're still looking for people to help us out on the flight line. And finally, this. That's Red Bull Air Race pilot Kirby Chambliss flying Pylons on hot air balloons. Why? Well, because he can. And because it was National Hot Air Balloon Day. Kirby has his own airstrip out in Arizona on the Flying Crown Ranch. That's where they launched the balloons and shot this video. And that'll do it for us this week. Thanks for watching AOPA Live this week. If you have a story idea or a comment about the show, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at aopalive@aopa.org. See you next week.
Here at You Can Fly, our sole mission is to get people flying and keep them flying. Each of our 4 initiatives is designed to reach pilots at a critical point in their journey.
Please don't let general aviation fade away. Support the AOPA Foundation and the You Can Fly program.